Thel Domuni, Vhin Chamni, and Hes Gizuni are huddling together, sitting in the middle of the old Chamni basement, waiting for the terror above their heads to pass. Moments feels like days, or even weeks. 15 minutes later, the terror passes. Everything goes quiet. The three looks up at the ceiling. Is it over? Thel hesitantly stands up on his feet. He takes a few steps toward the stairs. I will survey the area. Vhin, find what you came here for. Right. As Thel continues upwards, Vhin stands up and looks around the basement. Every book and every souvenir still remains in their places despite the carnage above ground. At least this place is spared from any vandals, and the memories are left intact. Hes stands up to his feet and approaches her as she begins to search upon the bookshelves. Mind me asking, but what are you trying to find? Something that will help us find Teeyol and a way to defeat Zero. Let us hope. Believe is the word you are looking for. She carefully looks through the shelves from top, scrolling down to the bottom. Most of them are literature works and learning guides. As she points her finger across, she stops. On the side of a book are the words printed in bold, Chamni's journal. Grandmother's journal? Is this what you have been looking for? There has to be something in here that is valuable.
Chamni! Gizuni! And it's all clear. Come!
A few moments later, the three pilots are outside once more. They look around their surrounding area. As expected, there is nothing but dust and debris. Of course, looking ahead at downtown Zamta, like Valda and Sigia, nothing remains but billowing smoke and the inferno. Only one thought lays within Thel, however. Vuki, how many Niborians survived?
Scanning. Zamta's population has dropped to 89%. Only 120,000 remain.
The three lights up with a shocked and stunned look. Thel takes out his near-flare pistol, aims it, and shoots it in the air. The green flare hovers in the air 100 meters above them. A flare, far away, shoots up into the air. Another flare goes up, then another, then another. One flare after the other popping up in many directions, close and far away. The pilot smiles and feels relief for the first time in 5 Niborian days. 18 minutes later, all of the survivors comes together near Vhin's old home. One of the survivors is Salki herself. She and Vhin reunites, embracing each other. In a time of woe, despair, and fear, something has, that older generations can believe, happened. A miracle. One's actions can make a huge difference. If it were not for General Salki, all of the city's population would have suffered the same fate. We owed her dearly. However, something has revealed itself. The real truth behind Zero's actions, and what the government did. At the crack of dawn, Vhin opens her grandmother's old journal. A hologram of the late Koba Chamni materializes. Everybody, soldier and civilian alike, gathers around to listen in on what the old woman said. I do not know how, I do not know why, and I do not know when. What is the reason behind it all? We called the creature Zero, the same creature that lived on the brew for as long as we have. A hero. A savior. The same savior that defeated the invading Kilak, saving our planet from certain conquest. The same hero that murdered the treacherous Gigan, a beast that was once loyal to the royal family, now an utter disgraced destroyer, without hesitation. The same savior that saved our people from the parasite legion and prevented Nibiru from becoming a floating graveyard in the solar system. Why must the Empress imprint the idea of developing these so-called new ways of protection, these mechs, to replace and turn your back against the true savior? And how dare you manipulate the young minds into believing Zero was nothing but fiction? How dare you make a mockery of Zero's name? I do not understand it. Perhaps it was after the death of Gigan that you started to change your mind on Zero? Or is it because of your fierce jealousy? Whatever the reasoning, you gave Zero cause. The cause for revenge. The ones that you manipulated into believing Zero never existing are paying the price that even I wish they never had to. Luckily for you, I and the greatest friends who I have ever known had to finally put an end to Zero's rampage with the one mech that was provided to us, Teeyol. But even when we were rewarded for our efforts, a reward that I never asked for, you dare demand our government to set a contingency plan if Zero returns. You failed to realize that Zero never forgets its enemies, no matter the size. So, where will the survivors go when you decide to sacrifice our people in order to save your reputation? What will happen if my granddaughter must become a mech pilot or an Aborian knight? Will you apply the same techniques to her like the others? It is such a shame that these rivalries between our dynasties were created to hide what really happened in our planet's past and to hide the real truth of Zero. I do not wish to live in a world or universe where my granddaughter has to learn such little knowledge of Zero. What kind of deluge would you throw up on the Chamni dynasty in order to save your reputation? By branding us as Ise, fools, and heretics. Vhin can feel the rage and hatred written in each page of the late Vhin Chamni. The entirety of everyone around her can feel it as well. But more importantly, they are learning the real truth for the first time. Vhin, if you manage to seek this journal out, I am sorry that you could not learn more about what happened. If you had come across Zero and managed to survive, if you are able to make peace with the Domuni and Gizuni dynasties, then I urge and bestow upon you the grand carrier ship Requiem. The ship will have all of the materials, supplies, and the resting mech Teeyol within. Remember, a Chamni can only aim high to save one's life. Farewell. The hologram disappears. Vhin turns the page and finds a cylinder-looking device as big as a paper. She pulls it out and examines it thoroughly. Suddenly, she can hear murmurs within the 120,000 inhabitants of Zamta. Thel and Hes especially becomes very distraught at what they had just heard. So, all of this was because of one Niborian royal. I cannot believe this. We are sacrificing our lives to protect an incompetent leader? All of this situation was all because of the Empress? This is what we are dealing with? As his fist tightens. For all of our lives, we were told that Zero never existed. All of our lives built on rivalries between dynasties. For one's sickening game. Despicable! Empress Sika Dempsey is willing to sacrifice our lives to a beast she refused to acknowledge. Domuni, I just received word from the government. What did they say? Only 2 cities remain on Nibiru, Bavda and the capital Niboria, and it looks like Vhin Chamni was right. There is a contingency plan, and the Empress is enabling it. Everyone's attention turns to the Niborian Knight. What is it? The contingency plan is to destroy planet Nibiru itself. Shock fills the surrounding area. But then, shock turns into utter rage.
This is an outrage! She is willing to blow up the entire planet to save herself? Unacceptable! I agree, and I say we demand for her abdication and beheading!
The crowd shouts in agreeing unison. Cries of "off with her head" spreads like wildfire. Thel calms everyone down.
Everyone, please! I agree that she should be beheaded as much as you do, but we cannot focus on that. We are still at war against Zero. If we're going to save this planet, we need to find Teeyol quickly.
His eyes veers towards the Maizal Mountains in the distance. If only we knew where specifically. A beam of light shines on the ground, materializing into a map. She and the others looks at it. Lines are created, leading outside of the city. It stretches to the mountains and marks an area with an X. What? The Requiem is that close? Within the Maizal Mountains? Why is it there? No matter. We must hurry. Buki, copy these coordinates.
Acknowledged.
We should head to the mountains. With what? Our bikes are destroyed. We will help you. Vhin turns to her friend. We managed to hide our transport vehicles just in case Zero showed up.
Brigadier Taff. Ma'am. Have the Mark 10 Tauntauns ready, quickly.
Thel places his hand on his chest. He turns and runs to the crowd of Niborians. I am joining you. Vhin smiles, hearing what she told her.
Wait!
The three turns around, seeing the Niborian raising his hand.
I was a former engineer on board the Requiem. I do not wish to see my home destroyed for petty reasons. If you are going to fight Zero, then count me in.
Oh my.
Wait, I do not think we should...
Then, he can be a volunteer.
I would like to join. Me as well. Please, sign me up.
More and more Niborians calls out to the three pilots that they want to join the cause to stop Zero and prevent the destruction of the planet. Soon, all of the 120,000 civilians of Zamta are calling out to them to be named volunteers. Thel, Hes, and Vhin becomes overwhelmed with relief and joy. Thel raises his hand, silencing everyone.
Everyone? Thank you.
In a universe where one would think that he or she is the only one against the beast bent on revenge via persecution, you come to the reality that no one is ever alone. We were very grateful for what would become the greatest crew on board the Requiem. And so, off we went to find the Requiem. The 80 Niborian knights, with Domuni, Chamni, and Gizuni coming along, rides in fire-separate Mark 10 Tantas. The transports pass Lake Val and comes in range of the Maisao Mountains.
Buki, scan the surrounding area for a dormant ship.
Acknowledge. Beginning scan.
How far do you think the ship is? I'm not sure, but I would not get my hopes up so easily. Further and further, the group travels into the mountains. No sign of the ship, or Teeyol. Most of the knights are starting to think that it's becoming a wild chase for nothing. I do not understand. It should be here. Where is it? I do not know. This is getting us nowhere. Driver, head back to Zamta. We need to think of a plan to... Unknown power source detected.
Wait! Stop right here!
The transport vehicle stops dead in its tracks. The other four behind it stops as well. Buki, where is it coming from?
Turn left.
Saoki looks at the driver.
You heard the AI. Turn left.
The Tantas turns into the left path. They slowly pass through the open and clear path. They do not know where the AI is leading them to, but they are not going to question it, even though some would like to say something.
Getting closer to power source. Please proceed on foot.
What the... Driver, halt!
The vehicle stops. Thel jumps out of the Tanta and walks ahead. Vhin and Hes worriedly follows after him. How far?
Drawing closer.
They continue onward. Power source spotted. Hold in place. The pilot stops where they are.
All right, it led us here. Now where is it?
I do not know. It says that we are at the source, but I'm not seeing it. Unless... Thel reaches his hand out. He takes very small steps forward, trying to feel something. Hes and Vhin, understandably, looks at him confusingly. His hand feels something cold. He taps it, and a metallic clang is heard. I knew it. It is here. What? He presses his hand. Electric bolt surges as he puts pressure on it. A piece of metal wall is revealed. Looking at it closely, it looks to be something that is resembling a keyhole. Vhin, come here. She walks up to him and right away notices the hole in the metal wall. It looks like... She pulls out the cylinder object that was in her grandmother's journal. She looks at both of them. A key? She inserts the object into the hole. It turns, making a metallic clang. The pilot safely backs away. The walls reveals more of itself. It grows and grows. All of the Niborian knights looks up. The metal becomes a conning tower. The color becomes a dark grayish blue. The top is flattened out with building-like structures laid across, while the bottom becomes a curved U. Two massive turbine engines reveals themselves on the port and starboard stern. The three mech pilots smiles, and all of the Niborian knights feels a sense of relief for the first time in 5 days since the war started. At long last, the ship in which you Earthlings saw had revealed itself. And our luck did not end there, it turns out. The crew walks into the interior of the ship. They search around for a light source or a generator to power the vessel. There should be something to power the ship somehow. Buki?
After a thorough scan, I am detecting an outlet that activates the Requiem.
Where is it?
50 miles. Continue heading forward.
The group follows along the corridor for that amount of distance. Upon reaching 50 yards,
Halt.
a door opens on the left side. They step inside into the dark room. Light shines under as they take each step. Another light appears. However, it travels through the floor, creating a path. Thel follows it. The light comes to a stop, so does Domuni. The area that the light is under shines on something that looks like a table. This must be the console. He looks all over it. A glowing neon red handprint on the console gets his attention. Domuni lifts his right hand and places it on the handprint. A scanner analyzes his hand. Suddenly, a rumble shakes the entire ship. Everyone becomes alarmed, unknowing of what Thel had just done. Neon blue lights appears on the console. It travels to another console, then another, then another. Then the entire room becomes a glow of neon blue. The light travels out of the room and spreads throughout the entire ship. Multiple systems automatically activates, and the engines of the ships turns on, emitting a low roaring rumble.
Requiem has been activated, ready for transfer.
Transfer?
It seems that the Requiem can allow any AI, no matter the age, to be installed into the system. I believe it would be highly recommended to install me into the ship's mainframe.
I suppose I can do that. Buki, transfer into the ship's mainframe.
Acknowledge. Beginning transfer.
A giant screen pops up in the middle of the bridge. A loading screen appears. 4 seconds later, the transfer is quick and easy.
Transfer complete.
A smile appears on Thel's face.
All right!
I am going to enjoy this. Buki, you are now part of the ship. So I think a name change would be fitting, considering that you are no longer associated with the mech.
Understood. What shall it be?
Thel looks at Vhin and Hes. I think it should be named to honor those who have fallen. Yes, I agree. Thel nods his head and looks back at the main monitor. Everyone, from now on, this ship will be a memorial to those who have fallen at the hands of Zero. But it will also be a fighting vessel to go into battle in their honor. Requiem of Nibiru.
Aye, Commander.
Understood. Registering Requiem of Nibiru into the database.
Thel turns to Hes. Hold on. Did they just call me Commander? Yeah. I mean, you got the leadership skills to be one. But I have only been taught to be a mech pilot, not a commander of the fleet, let alone a grand carrier. Thel, are you not taking responsibility of being a commander? Depends. Are you and Hes going to take responsibility of being my lieutenants? Vhin catches on to what he just said, and yet she smiles and chuckles. Not at all. Hey, I have no qualms with it. Their smiles disappears as there is one glaring problem remaining. Wait, we still haven't located Teeyol yet.
Teeyol, Magna-class battle carrier, located within the mech hangar.
Hangar? Moments later, a pair of doors splits open and the crew enters the large hangar of the ship. The scale of it is at the height of 150 meters. They look to the right, and immediately they become stunned. The first mech of Nibiru, the one that started it all, and the one that the pilots have traveled for, and whose relatives controlled to fight Zero many years ago, is standing on a single platform in supreme condition. You know, when I first saw the Leviathan, I made a comment that he had a distinct resemblance to Teeyol Mk. Taking back on it, I was right. Mostly.
Inspecting the mech status. Weapon systems online. Combat effectiveness 100%. Defensive protocols online. Armor capacity 100% and standard issue. Emergency power core enabled. X-152V stabilized.
Huh? It is a device where if activated, it will set off an explosion of gargantuan proportions. Well, that is very alarming. Never mind that. How do we get inside of the mech?
Teeyol's interior cockpit is within the chest.
Minutes later, the 3 mech pilots climbs inside of Teeyol's interior. They walk down the small corridor that leads to a split of 2 paths. Which way is which?
On the left is the escape pod. On the right is the cockpit. Please head right.
The 3 pilots goes down the right path. They reach an opening door. They walk through and they look at their surroundings. They are now within Teeyol's cockpit. However, what is this? Where are the control stations? Is there some kind of controller that can operate the mech remotely within the ship?
Such control station does not exist within the confines of the ship.
Well, how do we pilot this massive machine?
Analyzing. Analysis complete. A solution has been found.
What is it? The three feels a rumble underneath their feet. They step aside to the wall behind them. The floor splits open. A platform rises from beneath. Then it locks into the floor.
Teeyol can be controlled by the requirement of 3 skilled pilots.
Thel, Vhin, and Hes become shocked at the revelation. You mean the only way to move this machine is to use our bodies?
Correct. Although the mech has an onboard AI and can be controlled automatically, it can also be controlled manually.
I like the different options. So, how does this work?
In order to control Teeyol manually, all pilots must register themselves into the mech's database. Once it is done, they must cooperate as one in order to control it.
So in other words, we have to be in sync to make this thing do anything. What happens if one of us desyncs?
Actions applied to the mech will be delayed by a few seers. However, if fully desynced, its movements and operations will be on standby until pilots resyncs.
Goodness. Sounds like a lot. But the important question is, do we want Teeyol operate on its own, or do we control it ourselves? An important question indeed that leaves the three to think on it. Suddenly, alarms goes off throughout the ship.
Alert! Zero activity. Target has destroyed the city of Baghdad.
Shock fills throughout the ship. That means there is only one city left. The capital! I believe the time for talk is over. It seems that we will have to pilot this thing. Chamni, Gizuni, onto the platform and let us register our names to the Teeyol. Requiem, retrieve all from within and outside of Zamta and set a course for Boria.
Acknowledged.
The engines of the Requiem begins to roar. Flames shoots out of the turbines.
All personnel of the Zamta division and the surrounding area of the ship must board for immediate departure.
A purplish haze beams down from beneath the ship. All of the Niburian knights that hears the message outside of the ship immediately runs to the beam of light, the gravity lift, and they are lifted into the interior of the ship. Once all the knights are on board, the Requiem of Nibiru automatically lifts up into the air towards the destroyed city of Zamta. It passes over the towering summits of the mountains in view of the 120,000 survivors of Zamta. As the ship hovers over them, they are hearing the voice of Thel himself. Everyone, I believe it is time to honor those who have perished here. Into the gravity lift. Hearing that, the people waste no time in jumping into the gravity lift directly into the ship. A few moments later, all of the survivors and knights are accounted for.
Setting a course for the city of Boria.
The ship turns and blasts off away from the remains of Zamta. The Requiem flies through the overcast clouds, with the blood-red sky looming above. Within the ship, the 120,000 survivors are being given roles throughout the ship, turning them from ordinary civilians to volunteer crewmen and sailors. Salki assumes the role of captain of the ship. Within Teeyol itself, the three mech pilots are adjusting themselves into their brand new combat mech suits, black and blue in color and skin tight like the previous suits. I am surprised that we match. A bond, maybe? All right. Shall we register? The two looks at Thel and nods. Beams of light scans the three from head to toe. Then it disappears.
Scan complete. Begin movement tests.
Thel turns his head to the left. Vhin and Hes does the same thing. Teeyol turns its head to the left. The three pilots turns their head to the right in unison. The mech does the same. They look up, then down. The mech follows the same movement.
Head movement complete.
Their left arms lifts up and they flex their elbows, wrists, and fingers. The mech does the same. They do the same thing with their right arm, with the mech mimicking their motions.
Arm movement complete.
They lift both of their legs one after the other. Once again, Teeyol follows their movements.
Head movement complete.
Right then. What is next?
Beginning weapon analysis. Mega Buster, updated. Mark II laser cannon, functional. Mark III tracking missiles, fully loaded. Cecil-coded armor capability, 100%. Flight capacity, 100%. Mark IV microshield usage, approved. Weapon analysis complete. Teeyol is ready for combat.
Suddenly, a transmission comes into the ship's communications and the mech itself. Vessel, identify yourself or veer from current course. Who is that? That must be command. This is Captain Salki of the ship formerly known as Requiem, now assuming the name Requiem of the Nibiru. The Requiem? That is a name I have not heard in many years. Who is in charge, Captain? Ship Commander Thel Domuni, sir. Domuni? I thought you were dead. That rumor was false. My co-pilots and myself are still active. To whom am I speaking to? General Zili Zolmo. General, what is the status of the capital? Not good. The Empress has authorized the activation of ZB-18. ZB what? A weapon that was developed for one purpose, destroying Nibiru completely. Hearing that, the mechs, as well as the crew in the ship, become stunned at the weapon's true purpose.
That fool! You tell Her Majesty not to deploy it!
I am sorry, Thel, but the weapon has already been activated. There is nothing I could do. Hes grunts out of frustration.
What about the evacuation?
I have already arranged the evacuation contingency. Escape pods are being prepped for sending the people far into orbit. General, listen to us. Zero is on its way to the capital. If you send the pods into orbit while the beast is hovering over it, there will be no one that escapes before the planet's destruction. The general goes silent. He has nothing to say about that scenario. Sir, we can help with the evacuation. The carrier Requiem of the Brew and Teeyol are primed and ready for combat.
You found Teeyol? How did...
He stops mid-sentence before speaking again. All right, I'll try and buy you some time. The transmission ends. Silence falls throughout the ship and inside of the mech. If this does not work, then all of our efforts would have been for... Thel, do not say it. Believe. Domuni takes in a deep breath. Right. How long until Zero arrives in Nibiru?
Approximately in -5 meters.
Can we get there faster?
Increasing speed.
The ship's speed increases dramatically. Everyone within feels the force of the speed that the ship is now traveling in. It is now full steam ahead towards the capital. Time was of the essence. It was a, race against the clock. If only Her Majesty realized what she had unleashed. Alas, history is about what really happened, not what others may think happened. The last city that is left standing, Nibiru, is in preparations for a massive evacuation. The 10.9 million inhabitants are scrambling to their designated escape pods that can hold up to 30,000 each. The law enforcement are handling the situation despite the fear hovering over everyone. Inside of the Grand Palace, Empress Zika Demzi enters a massive room full of operators, soldiers, and Nibirian knights, who some are her personal guards.
Where is Zero?
It is almost here. Are the evacuation protocols intact?
Yes, but please reconsider, Your Highness. We cannot just abandon and destroy everything that we have loved. Our home can be rebuilt, and we can repopulate again.
I am not changing my mind, and that is final. I am not letting this turn into what happened so many years ago.
Your Majesty!
The distant voice of the general catches her attention. She turns around the moment he enters the room. General, whatever it is, I am not in the mood to hear. The Grand Carrier Requiem has been reactivated, and the crew are on their way with the battle mech Teeyol. She turns around to him shocked. The crew within the room turns to him.
Teeyol? Requiem?
Who is in charge of that vessel? Thel Domuni. Everyone becomes stunned. They have heard that Domuni died, but hearing that he has survived, there is a glimpse of hope. Your Highness, you must delay ZB-18 from firing. The mech will help with the evacuation and possibly kill Zero. More hope is felt throughout the room, but Zika is becoming conflicted. Should she continue with the contingency plan? Or can she rely on the only thing that could potentially kill Zero? She comes to a conclusion. I am sorry, but once the countdown has started, there is no going back. The look of distraught appears on the general's face. So does everyone else's. However, if Teeyol and the crew of the Requiem can really assist in the evacuation of Nibiru and kill Zero, we might be able to send all of the people into orbit in time before the planet's destruction. Send that specific message to the carrier, and send on a message to the battlecruisers Might and Guide to aid the vessel.
Right away, Your Highness.
The general runs out of the room and down the long hallway. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the base. Oh no!
It is here!
Red flare shoots up into the air around the capital city. Around the downtown district and within the suburbs, the civilians seize the flares hovering in the air, and immediately, they all know what is coming. Back inside of the base, Zika gives out another order.
All of you, wait for the Requiem's arrival.
At a great distance away, the clouds breaks. Zero reveals itself once again. In full view of the beast, the people screams at the sight of it. The three heads spots the city below. Immediately, it knows what it must do. Many miles away, the carrier Requiem of the Brew is traveling along the clouds at great speed. An alarm within goes off.
Alert! Zero has arrived in Nibiru.
We are too late. How far are we?
3 meters away.
Wait, I have an idea. Requiem, open the doors and prepare for a drop. What?
Affirmative. All engineers, clear the bomb bay doors.
What are you? Listen to me. I am not letting my family become a mockery once more. Nor should you. Wait, are you sure about this?
Very. Well, if we do not make it out alive, then Hes, my good, naive friend, we will make it. I promise you this. It is the first time that Hes has heard Vhin address him as friend instead of the usual scolding. He smiles and nods his head. Vhin turns to Thel. The hatch in the hangar floor splits open. The rushing wind blows inside, almost sucking out the mechanics and engineers. Thel, shall we?
Right. Chamni, Gizuni, on my mark, we jump.
Activating Teeyol's rocket boosters.
2 pairs of turbine jets extends out from the back of Teeyol.
3, 2, 1, launch!
Jets of flame shoots out from the mech's turbines. The mech lightly squats, then jumps into the open hatch. It leans forward as it falls out of the hangar into the outside. Its head faces upwards and forwards. Thrusters on its feet activates. Teeyol rockets away from the speeding ship and head towards the city.
HQ to Requiem, come in.
This is the Requiem of the Brew. Teeyol is on its way. What is the status, General?
The ZB-18 cannot be deactivated and Zero has arrived. What is the estimated time to arrival? 25 Cs. Also, the Empress has authorized the battlecruisers Might and Guide to aid you.
Holy heavenly stars! Those ships are one of the best in the fleet.
Right. Thank you.
The transmission ends and another opens to Teeyol. Teeyol, this is Captain Salki. The battlecruisers Might and Guide will be aiding us. Be on the lookout.
Thank you for the heads up.
That should make a difference. I hope so.
There it is!
The visual of Zero hovering over Nibiru comes into full view. The underside of the neck begins to glow bright yellow. The mech boosts its thrusters tenfold. Teeyol's arms extends outwards with the hands opening wide. Zero takes in a massive deep breath. As the beast begins to exhale, Teeyol grabs onto Teeyol's neck and upper body. At the same time, the lightning bolts fires from its mouths, but not into the city below, but into the atmosphere. The machine grips the monster tightly as the two flies away from the downtown district and away from the city entirely. Then, the two crash lands onto the sand-colored grass outside of the boundaries of Nibiru. The two are separated on impact. Teeyol lands on the ground on its feet. Zero stumbles to its feet, unknowing of what had just happened. The 3 heads looks at what tackled it out of the sky as it stands on its feet and wings. They become stunned and shocked. The memory of this mech, surrounded by a fleet of ships hovering above it, comes into its mind. Anger and fury overwhelms Zero. It lifts and slams its wings on the ground. Its tail rises and rattles with furious intent. Inside of Teeyol, the 3 pilots stares at the monitor focusing on Zero. There is nothing but rage in their eyes. Hello, Zero. We meet again. I think it remembers this mech rather than us. It no longer matters. It is time to end this. Speaking of time, Requiem, show the countdown to the planet's destruction.
Acknowledged.
A second screen appears in the cockpit next to the main screen. Then comes the countdown.
Countdown to Nibiru's destruction in -7 years.
And the evacuation?
Be underway. We are assisting in the effort. Good luck.
Thank you. Initiate close-range battle mode. The 3 pilots makes a fighting stance. Teeyol mimics their movement, then it roars at Zero, to which the beast responds with a roar of its own. The mech runs towards its enemy, with Zero following suit. The two clashes like wrestlers, attempting to gain the upper hand. Zero grabs onto the mech with its mouths. It brings the mech off of its feet and swings it away. Teeyol's boosters activates, slowing its speed down and landing safely on its feet. Now it's our turn. Zero runs towards its mechanical enemy. The pilots reels their right fists back. Then, as the beast draws closer, they swing their fist forward. Teeyol mimics their movement and punches Zero's faces. The beast staggers, and the mech grabs the 2 of the 3 heads. It balls his fist and punches the heads twice. The middle head shoots a single electric bolt from its mouth at Teeyol's head, and the right head follows suit. As the smoke clears, it sees that there is barely any damage to the head. The mech reels his right fist back, preparing another punch. Zero, out of desperation, wraps its legs around the mech's legs. It spreads its wings and takes flight, dragging the mech along with it. High up in the air, the beast swings it away, but the mech halts itself and hovers in midair. It opens its mouth. A multicolored laser, the Mega Buster, shoots from it and hits Zero directly in the chest. The monster shrieks in pain as it crashes back onto solid ground with a sickening thud. The head reels back and fires a volley of electric bolts into the sky. Teeyol dodges it, but the volley tracks its movement and hits the side of it. The Mark IV rifle shield appears on the right wrist. The pilot turns and raises their right arm and blocks the volley of golden bolts. However, some of the bolt circles around the mech and goes for the other side. Another shield appears and it too blocks the bolts. The mech turns its head towards Zero. The gold-colored laser cannon shoots out from the red eyes and hits the beast's heads, causing it to cease firing. Meanwhile, in the city of Nibiru, 15 escape pods launches up into the air towards the atmosphere.
450,000 have successfully been evacuated.
The smoke clears and Zero turns its attention towards the escaping transports. It spreads its wings and takes flight after them. However, explosions cuts off the beast from going any further. It and Teeyol looks towards where the projectiles came from. A massive ship, half the size of the Requiem of the Nibiru with its two fork-like appearance, flies over the city to its outskirts. Commander Domuni, this is Captain Salvu of the battlecruiser Might. We are here to assist. Another set of explosions hits the monster. The beast looks towards where it came from. Another ship, similar in size and design, breaks through the clouds, this time with a fleet of 8 destroyers, half the size of the Might, escorting it. He is not alone. This is Captain Dice Silu of the battlecruiser Guide. I am thrilled that you made it. Unfortunately, the countdown has already started. Nibiru's destruction is imminent. Then we shall make certainty that Zero dies along with this planet.
All ships, open fire!
The guns of the destroyers and battlecruisers, ranging from 150 to 300mm, fires high-pressured lasers at Zero. The effects are tremendous. The beast shrieks in pain, with pieces of its skin being blown off. The beast falls to the ground with a sickening thud. Zero quickly stands back to its feet and returns fire with a single bolt, hitting the destroyer Mean on its port amidships. Another bolt hits the port, stern, and starboard aft of the Might. 14 and 20 sailors dies respectively. Zero turns its attention back to Teeyol. Upon doing so, it has disappeared. Unknown to the beast, the machine sneaks up from behind and grabs its two tails. It drags it by its feet, then lifts it off of the ground over its shoulder and slams it back on the ground. Zero immediately stands back up and attacks the mech, slashing it with its talons. Its claws slightly digs into the armor, bringing concern to the 3 pilots. The hands of Teeyol spins, then flattens out. The pilots aims their flattened hands upwards. Mark III tracking missiles launches from the fingers. The projectiles redirects their projection and hits Zero in the back, causing it to lunge off of the mech. Teeyol punches the beast away with sheer force.
600,000 inhabitants have been evacuated. Also, planet's destruction in -5 years.
Let us not waste any more time then. Teeyol and Zero clashes once more, punching and biting each other like savages. They push each other, allowing the ships to fire at Zero. The beast responds with a bolt to the guide on its port aft. 48 sailors dies. 1,050,000 have been evacuated. Requiem, find the royal family and retrieve them and the command staff.
Acknowledged. Retrieving the Empress now.
Hey, what is this? As the mech and Zero dashes towards each other, the old machine swings one blade, then the other, slicing through the beast's wings. That is unexpected, but a welcome surprise. Zero angrily leaps onto Teeyol, grabbing both of its arms. It grips the blades and breaks them into pieces. The mech grabs the necks and swings the creature away. Its turbine boosters activates. The mech launches itself at Zero, shoulder checking it to the ground.
Royal family secured. Also, 50% of the Borea has been evacuated.
How much time is left?
-4 years.
The Empress runs through the corridors of the Requiem of the Nibiru and enters the bridge. The moment she walks in, no one looks to her or acknowledges her presence. She becomes flabbergasted and disgusted that no one is even paying attention to her. However, looking at the main monitor, she can see why no one is looking at her. My godly stars, how long can they remain like this?
7,500,000 Naborians have been evacuated.
How much time is left now?
-3 years.
Then just to be safe, all ships, escape into orbit immediately. What about your pilots? All of the destroyers hears the message from the carrier and immediately ascends the atmosphere. Zero pops up on its feet and fires a volley of electric bolts from its mouths. The bolts hits and penetrates Teeyol's elbow. Alarms blares throughout the machine. Zero then runs towards it and slams into it with brute force. The pilot struggles to shake the beast off. In doing so, Thel accidentally desinks, causing the mech to freeze up. The beast bites down on the armor, trying to rip bits and pieces off its mechanical parts.
We cannot hold out for much longer!
Amazing news. All 10.9 million Naborians have been evacuated.
All right!
Warning. Planet's destruction in -2 years.
Firing sequence initiated.
Didn't you say this mech has an escape pod?
Correct.
Right. Let us get there. What about Zero and Teeyol?
I have an idea. Requiem, we are heading for the escape pod. On my signal, you activate Teeyol's AI, understood?
Affirmative. Awaiting command.
The Might fires a volley of lasers at Zero.
In return, the beast fires a single bolt, hitting the ship's port aft. Teeyol punches the monster off of its body. The stomach opens, revealing a built-in cannon. The plasma grenade fires at the monster, pushing it back 400 meters. Do it!
Activating Teeyol's self-AI.
The light within the cockpit turns red. The mech scans Zero from head to toe. Bold words appears on the main screen. Vorlocht, Zylocht, danger, eliminate. The three pilots relaxes their bodies. They can feel the hulking mech move by itself, acting on its own. That was insanity.
Warning, planet's destruction in -1 mir. Please, hurry and evacuate.
Now is our chance. Move! Teeyol roars and runs towards Zero. As the pilot steps off of the platform, the intense shakiness of the interior is very light. Despite that, the three exit the cockpit into the corridor. Requiem, close in for an emergency extract.
Acknowledged.
They turn the corner, entering down another corridor. They reach the very end to the open hatch. On the outside, Teeyol grabs the staggering Zero with both of its arms. Wires pops out of its fins and wraps around itself and Zero. Then, its boosters activates. The two lifts up into the air towards the downtown district.
Alert! Sensors show Teeyol is dragging Zero towards the ZB-18.
It is taking Zero along with it and its planet. Smart! Move into the pod! The pilot enters the pod with no hesitation. Thel reaches the controls. At the same time, Teeyol's core begins to overload. It quickly reaches the boiling point. At the center of the city, the ZB-18 standing on 4 legs as support is ready to fire. A highly pressured single beam shoots into the ground. It digs through the layers of mineral and rock until it reaches the core of the planet. Teeyol glows bright red. The hatch of the pod closes and the pod itself launches out from the backside of the mech. Teeyol turns its body and flies directly down into the hole. Zero roars as the two flies deeper within. And then, silence, as an enormous explosion erupts from the crater, followed by another that was caused by the ZB-18. The surface cracks and splits in many directions. The shockwave hits the flying escape pod that the pilots are in. Everything becomes intense. And then, everything goes silent. Thel releases his grip from the controls. He lays back in his seat. Vhin, sitting next to him, lets out an exhausting sigh. They and Hes looks at each other. Smiles appears on their faces. Their hands touches, then they connect their foreheads together. Our great lords of the heavenly stars, give thanks to those who have suffered the most, and inform them their debts were not in vain. We shall continue their individual legacies forevermore. We are in their debt to those who fought against death. May they slumber in eternal peace, and may our history never cease. Outside of the pod, the gravity lift looms over it. It ascends, taking the small vessel into the Requiem of Nibiru. The Might and Guide ascends to the atmosphere. Once the pod is inside, the Requiem follows suit. Around the planet, quakes split the surface in many areas and directions. Remnants of cities collapses in on themselves. Magma explodes from within, and mountains crumbles from summit to base. The 3 remaining ships exit the planet's atmosphere into the vacuum of space. Their light speed gets them away from the dying rock. A great cataclysmic explosion rips the planet apart, scattering rock in every direction and blowing the moons away from their orbit. Zero is dead. Teeyol is destroyed. But our home, the home that we call ours, the home that we lived upon for an entire millennia, was no more. I guess we should give it a date of its destruction. By our Earth standards, it will be on this date, June 8th, 12,000 BC. 9,990 years later, April 10th, 2010 AD, above planet Earth. Sitting in his private quarters at the damaged but still repairing Requiem of Nibiru, Thel Domuni places his journal on the table. He lets out a calm sigh. So, when was it that you found out that Zero was still alive? During the trial of Empress Sika Dempsey. Of course, her decision of destroying Nibiru shattered her reputation immensely. Why would it not? It was guaranteed to give one horrendous ramifications. What was the verdict? Guilty. She was sentenced to death by the council. Ironically, Rem, her brother, would take the throne as our current emperor. But
It was 5,000 years ago when we found out that Zero was still alive, when bits and pieces of Teeyol Mk were scattered all over the solar system. We were ordered to find it, but the problem was that we did not know where it was. In the meantime, New Nibiru was being constructed, as well as Teeyol Mk. Of course, by the time we reached the red planet you call Mars, the Requiem was hit by an unknown blast. And, as you say, the rest was history. My brother can be kind of reckless sometimes. Thel becomes baffled by her words. Your brother? You've met my brother and his girlfriend? They entered your ship and you spoke to them before you attacked them? Are you talking about the ones they call Dragonborn and Hellraiser? And you're related to the former? I am. In fact, aside from our grandparents, he's the only family that I have left, after what happened to our parents. Oh, my condolences. Another thought enters his mind. Tell me, is what Hellraiser say true? About what? About Zero being confronted by the Leviathan's father in your world's military. The amount of people and effort it took to seal it within a volcano called Mahara, and using our technology with good intentions. Yes, all of it is true. And we partly have to thank Gojala II for his effort, and the SS Homepoint Dawn contributed tremendously. What is this Homepoint Dawn? It was a battle carrier from the future. Perhaps we should perform research on that vessel.
Slip space rushing detected.
Those words catches Thel's attention. In his mind, it has finally arrived. He stands up from his seat. Well, I guess this is it. It should be New Nibiru. A thought suddenly enters his mind and makes him chuckle. This is odd. Throughout this whole time, I have not known your name, human. It's Honda. Emiko Honda. Emiko. Thank you for listening to my story. Farewell. Sayonara. The commander walks to the door and exits the room. He looks to the side and spots engineers who are hard at work repairing open patches in the ship. Alarms blares throughout the ship. Then it stops as Thel enters the bridge.
New Nibiru has arrived. Incoming transmission from headquarters. Playing the live feed now.
Commander, report. Zero is on the planet. Zero is on the planet, but the Might and Guide, as well as Teeyol Mk are destroyed. But we should not worry. It is being monitored by the humans, as well as 3 monsters, on the planet as we speak. Wait, what happened? It is a long story. How has Vhin? Another transmission comes in. Well, I have been promoted as leader of the Laborian Knights. Hello, Thel. It has been a long time. Indeed it has. But, unfortunately, Hes was not able to survive on the planet. Oh. Well, I have something that might cheer you up. We found them on one of the Nibiru's old moons that got blown from orbit. What is it? Hello, son. Thel? Are you okay? Thel becomes shocked. Then he becomes overwhelmed with relief and almost cries tears of joy.